So Gervonta Davis stopped Rolando Romero in the 6th round with one punch to defend his WBA World Lightweight title trinket thing. We don't care about that. We care about the fight. Quite late to the party with this one. Obviously, this fight happened on Saturday. It is now Monday, but to be fair, I could not find a copy of this fight until this morning. So I'm going to give my take on the fight, but I'm also going to talk about some things, some perceptions that people had of the performance of both men, but also where Gervonta Davis is going to go from here, because I think that's something that can be explored. So firstly, the fight itself, as I say, it only went 6 rounds. It was a relatively quiet 6 rounds, to be fair. There weren't many fiery exchanges, hardly any combinations. It was really just the two fighters looking to, I don't want to say pot shot, but just feeling their way through the fight. It was relatively slow paced. But to be fair, both guys did some decent stuff. It was, and this is going to feed into where I think Gervonta Davis is going, but it was a very, it was the kind of performance that you'd expect to see from him right now, in this stage of his career. And now I didn't make a pre-fight video on this fight because, firstly, I was kind of busy, I didn't get around to it, but secondly, it kind of went the way I expected it to. I was, at least in my head, predicting that Gervonta Davis would stop Rolly Romero in the middle rounds, 5 or 6, because this was really seen as a gimme fight for Gervonta Davis. And yeah, it was kind of being built up as a bit of a grudge match because these two have some kind of history. But in reality, these two are leagues apart, at least on paper, at least in terms of achievement, because Rolly Romero, what's he really done, to be fair? What has he done? His best win is what? A 7th round stoppage over Anthony Yigit, I believe his name is pronounced. And yeah, he's a bit of a handy operator, but he already got stopped by Baranchik in the same round. So yeah, Rolly Romero, I didn't give him much of a chance. I gave him a puncher's chance at most, and even then, it wasn't the biggest puncher's chance because he's not a prolific puncher. He hasn't knocked out anyone of an elite or world level, in my opinion. So yeah, this was always going to be Gervonta Davis. However, I have to give Rolando Romero credit because he showed better and more disciplined and tidier technique than I've seen in any of his fights previously. Because I was thinking he's definitely going to get stopped. Gervonta Davis has very good eye for counter punches, and he's very athletic, and he's sharp on the counter. And someone who is as wide and as crude and as just almost ungainly as Romero, I thought it was going to be open season for Gervonta Davis and his counters. But Rolando Romero showed a lot of discipline in this fight. And Gervonta Davis, there's like a sizable contingent of people who, after this fight, they've reacted by saying they were disappointed by Davis. And I can understand why they say that, but I kind of disagree. I'll get onto why I kind of disagree. Because I don't think he had a poor performance. I don't think he really wasn't making any mistakes, I don't think. But it's just this pattern of Gervonta Davis where his development as a fighter, because I don't know about you guys, but I really still see there's like a prospect vibe that you get from Gervonta Davis, because yeah, he's been a champion in a couple of weight divisions, but he really hasn't had that kind of breakout fight where he's up against it. He did well to win his first title against Pedraza, but since then, has he been an underdog? I don't think so. I know the Mario Barrios fight was kind of sold as, oh, he's taking this massive risk against this massive guy. But I debunked that in my pre-fight video because Mario Barrios, I believe he started his career at super bantamweight. And Gervonta Davis he's not the biggest guy in terms of stature, but he's a legit puncher. So if you're a super bantamweight coming up, chances are you're not going to do too well unless you have an amazing defense and skills. But anyway, Gervonta Davis, at this point in his career, he's going into this pattern of he fights in a very lazy fashion. And now it's like he doesn't rush in. He's not a reckless fighter. He picks his shots quite well. But he's not using the skills that, say, I know he has, because I've been watching Gervonta Davis for a long time. I first saw his fights way back in the day. I want to say like 2015, and these were his early fights, his learning fights, and he looked, yeah, very athletic, very powerful, but his IQ and his skills really didn't look like anything special. But then he kind of started going in a direction where it's like, okay, this guy's really shaping up to be a world level operator and potentially an elite level fighter. And it was very steady, and he was looking really good because he started to marry his power and his skill and his natural kind of athletic prowess. He was really starting to nurture it and marry it with some impressive boxing IQ. But now, for the past couple of years, he just seems to be fighting in this very basic kind of, as I say, lazy style where he doesn't really set anything up. He's really just a bit of a pot shot king. And this is precisely why Romero was able to have quote unquote success against Davis, is because he wasn't doing much himself, but it's just because Davis does so little. He's not very proactive. He has a very reactive style. And I always go back to this famous quote: a good fighter will capitalize on your mistakes. A great fighter will make you make mistakes. Gervonta Davis is a good fighter. So if you rush and just try and hit him with whatever shot, he will counter. He's a good fighter. He has good reflexes, good control of his body. He's an athlete, has good eye for counters. But he's not the kind of fighter that's going to manipulate you that much. He doesn't use many feints. He doesn't use many jabs. He doesn't really use his eyes to work around you and your reaction. Whereas Rolando Romero, I'm struggling to say that name, Rolly Romero, was doing a good job of using his lead hand to control the lead hand of the southpaw Davis, and that gave him a lot of room, and it made Davis look very ordinary. So Rolando Romero did a good job, I think. But the only thing is, Teddy Atlas probably say he's got a bit too much fat on his punches. There's quite a bit of tell. It could be tightened a bit. Also, maybe lacks some defensive responsibility. And Davis, being the athlete he is he's able to just come off the center line, come back in, and he did some very nice pull counters on Rolando Romero, which, to give him credit, it's not all bad for Davis, but you just like to start to see some wrinkles being developed in Davis's game. So I can understand why people say, oh, it wasn't the best Davis performance, but I think that's the style that he seems to be adopting. I'd like to see more from him, but I'm not going to go out and say that this was a bad performance by Tank Davis, because at the end of the day, he got a brutal one-punch stoppage victory against Rolando Romero, as myself and many other people expected. But look, he got the job done, didn't ship too much punishment. But I think it's just a sign of, it's an indicator of where Davis is going. The stoppage itself, Rolando Romero, he was stopped on his feet, but I don't have a problem with that because he was out of it. He got up, the referee told him take a step to the side. He kind of did, but his foot wasn't really underneath him. You can actually see a clip, I believe it's taken from the audience, and it's a different angle, and you can see Romero's feet, and his right leg is completely gone. And Tank Davis is a good finisher, and he's a legit puncher, so I have no problem with the stoppage. Beautiful punch, beautiful counter. Rolando Romero tried the kind of wide right hook. Davis, too good an athlete, too good technique on his punches, and just cleaned him out. So overall, in my opinion, it was what I expected. So I can't say whether it's good or bad. I thought Romero impressed me because I expected worse from him. He did quite well, given that he got stopped in the 6th round. Davis got the win in the round I expected he would, and performed as I expected he would. But that's in the context of this fight. If we look in the future of Gervonta Davis, because apparently he's supposed to be leaving Mayweather, and I don't know whether that's true or not, because I've seen headlines saying that he's actually staying. Who knows? But regardless of that, he has rivals, he has contemporaries, and lightweight right now is shaping up to be quite a tough division, I want to say. Because if you look at, I'm just using the BoxRec rankings right now, if you look at the top 6 guys, you have Isaac Cruz, number 6, who Gervonta Davis fought in his fight before this one. Number 5 is Lomachenko. Number 4 is Haney. Number 3 is Lopez. Number 2 is Kambosos. And number 1 is Gervonta Davis. Yep, probably not the most accurate rankings. You know, BoxRec uses their point system, which is just so odd and convoluted, but it is what it is. But I think this is a good representation of who the top guys at lightweight are. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is a toss-up. And these guys need to fight each other. And, you know, hopefully they do fight each other. And when they do, I think they're going to be trading wins and losses. Obviously, Lomachenko has lost to Lopez already, though, yeah, look, Lopez clearly won that fight. But myself and in particular Chris Andre, what we saw in the second half of that fight was Lomachenko show that he does actually have a good chance of beating Lopez. He just started too late. So that, in our opinions, warrants a rematch. I don't want to speak for Chris, of course, but that's what he said, and I concur with it. Devin Haney and Kambosos Jr. are set to fight this Saturday on the 5th of June, I believe it is. And Davis has already fought Cruz. But these guys need to fight each other because this is a very solid kind of top 5, top 6 with some interesting fights to be made, some very unique styles. And the question I want to ask now is, how well does Davis's style shape up against these other guys? Because I'd give Davis a good chance against Kambosos and Devin Haney. I think he's got a good chance against Teofimo Lopez, but I do think Lopez has a better chance than those two. But then I think that Lomachenko would beat Davis pretty easily. I mean, this is just my opinion. Obviously, I want to see it happen and I want to see these guys fight each other. But there's proof here, based on the talent and the ability of these guys, that, you know, really capturing the throne at lightweight, I don't think it's going to be easy for Davis. And this is why questioning and critiquing his development is so important, because he's not just going to have free reign over this division. And that's assuming he's actually going to fight these guys. Hopefully he does. Seeing some shenanigans from the Davis kind of camp with, you know, fighting Romero. That was a mismatch. Cruz was brought in as a late replacement, but proved to, you know, be not like he didn't beat Gervonta Davis, but he proved to be a handful. Barrios, I've spoken about that. Santa Cruz was smaller. Gamboa is washed up as hell. Nunez, who's that guy? So I don't want to sound like I'm being overly critical of Davis. He did what he was supposed to, and I like Gervonta Davis, but I know he can do better, and so I want to see him do better, if that makes sense. You know, you want to see fighters reach their full potential and use their assets and their ability. So that is all for me on this fight. Let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. Do you agree with my take? Do you disagree? And where would you like to see Gervonta Davis go next? So yeah, leave it down below. I'll get back to you. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.